Hey gang, Azrach here and welcome back to my channel. I make 3D printable action figures and today we're looking at another one of my creations. In this video, we will explore all the features of this action figure, the entire printing journey, the painting process, as well as the assembly of the figure, and also some comparisons at the end of the video and a showcase of the figure. And we will also explore what went wrong on this figure and how I intend to fix it for my future figures. So before we go any further, let's talk about our sponsors. This video is sponsored by PCBWay. Thank you PCBWay for sponsoring this video. PCBWay is a prototyping and manufacturing service that can help you prototype your PCBs as their primary offering. However, PCBWay also provides an excellent 3D printing service that allows you to print with a wide range of materials like PLA, ABS, resins, and even metal. They also employ various 3D printing technologies such as FDM and SLA, which are able to get us amazing 3D printed results for our strength and quality needs. Quotes are provided almost instantly and their quality control standards are what impressed me the most. So if you need to 3D print something but buying a 3D printer is not suitable for you, or you want to see what a 3D printer can do without having to commit to an expensive 3D printing machine, PCBWay has the solution for you. So please check out PCBWay and their services from the link in the description below. I sculpted this figure with two distinct looks. The first one is the classic look, which has long trunks and a neck collar, which is a throwback to all the classic golden age kind of designs for Dr. Fate, and also a modern look with gold on the abdomen with a fancy neck ornament as well, so that I think just gives it like a little bit of a modern twist. I also added multiple head sculpts for the figure, and the biggest differences to the head sculpts are the ornate decorations on one of the helmets. We also have a couple of helmets without the head inside so that it can be used to display the helm of Naboo on its own, and we have two power effects for this figure. One that resembles the Dr. Fate logo and another one that is two disc shields and a big Fate logo that can also be used as a backdrop. I took heavy references from the Black Adam movie for the Dr. Fate logo effects, and I don't know where I got the shield design from, but I just wanted to add some characters in there that looks like hieroglyphs or symbols so that it adds more character to the design. We have some hands that come with the figure that add to the posability, so we've got some fist hands that come with all my figures, and we've got two praying hands that add to the Dr. Fate specific hands. We've got two power effect hands that are pre-built with holes that allow for the power effects to stay on, and we've also got two hand effects without the holes. So I decided to print the modern version of the figure to add to my collection. This figure was printed entirely using the Resi1 Tough 74 resin. This is currently my favorite resin to print with and it provides excellent results. The prints are crisp and usually with a little bit of anti-aliasing, it is very smooth as well. And all these parts were printed in the Uniformation GK2. My settings are, I leave the bottom layer at 5 layers with a bottom exposure of 44 seconds. The layer height is 0.04 or 4 microns, and the layer exposure is 2.8 seconds. As always, I am slightly overexposing to get tighter joints, and I use Lychee Slicer for all of my slicing because I find the auto supports on the slicer to be absolutely amazing and very reliable. I also really like the hole fix or geometry fix functionality on the slicer in case the system finds any errors that I may run into while I'm printing my figures. So for the paints on this figure, I used the Vallejo Dark Parisian Blue as the base blue color for this figure. The paints were added onto the figure using an Iwata airbrush to get a really smooth finish. I used Tamiya's metallic line of colors for the gold since Tamiya has excellent gold paints. And before we get into the mistake I made, a big shout out to my wife for all the paint work on this figure. Other than laying the base coat of blue, my wife did all of the gold, the skin, the eye paints, everything on this figure, which is why I think it looks so great. Now this is where I had a minor inconvenience. I did not prime the figure at all and I may have forgotten to seal some parts. So with the resin material, you can usually get away with not priming the parts for the paints to stick onto the figure. So I skipped this step in the process, which I've done for I think the past 3 or 4 figures. And when sealing the figure, I use a brand new sealant this time around, which is not something I've tried and tested. I was using Mr. Super Clear early on in my career, and that is when I had great results. However, Mr. Super Clear is very expensive and not natively found in Australia, so it's a bit difficult for me to import it in, so it's just not economical for me. So I switched to Rust-Oleum as my sealant, and that worked okay, but the application was a bit patchy. Please see my Green Lantern video for details. So this time I am using the Duramax flat sealant for this figure. Although I should have used the semi-gloss one, which I have as well, I decided to use the flat sealant, and I saw somewhere that flat sealant is the least protective due to the ingredients in the spray, and gloss is the most durable. So usually semi-gloss is a good compromise for me because it adds some durability to the sealant but is not overly glossy looking. So when I was assembling this figure and handling the shoulder with a bit of force because I wanted to squeeze it into the bicep, I could see that the paint was rubbing off. So I was a little bit worried with the whole situation because this was the first time I used this sealant and this was the first part I picked up. So Yeah, however, while I was working with all the other parts, the paint seemed to stay on, so I was being a little bit more careful than I usually would be. But it was a relief that none of the other paint came off on the other parts, so I'm thinking I might have forgotten to seal the shoulder. I'll definitely need to experiment more with the sealants just to get better results, so stay tuned for more info. The assembly process on this figure is no different from any of my other figures, so that was a very simple process. Everything fit as expected and the figure came out looking pretty awesome other than the paint rub on the left shoulder. To assemble the figures, I apply some heat using a hairdryer so that the socket parts warm up. Once in a softened state, the joint can be easily inserted into the sockets, and that's how I get the parts together. Over the many years that I've been making action figures, I have made the joints significantly better and resistant to break, and with the tough 74 resin, the joints are even stronger and hold better in position due to the formulation of the resin. It just sticks at different positions better and the joints are really tight. So the joints and the resin have come a long way to be this effective as it is today. Once everything is put together, I also got myself some gold fabric to create a cape for this figure. I added a wire into the cape so it can be posable, and I did end up gluing the cape and the ornate neck piece onto the body for maximum security so that it doesn't come loose and allows for maximum posability. So here we have the figure after assembly, and personally I really like how this turned out. I really like the deeper blues on this figure and the ornate details really stand out on an otherwise smooth canvas. Now for the height, this figure stands at roughly 15.3 centimeters, which scales very well with Mafex and some other action figure lines. Here we have the Mezco Dr. Fate and the McFarlane movie Dr. Fate figures for comparison. Next we have the Flash action figure from DCUC on the left and the DC Icons Flash action figure on the right. Now this is the Mafex Snyder's Cut Justice League version of the Batman from Mafex on the left and the amazing Yamaguchi New 52 Superman on the right. And finally we have two Marvel Legend action figures for comparison. I printed out some accessories as well and used the heavy metal gold resin from Antonski to print out some of the helmets and power effects. The semi-transparent effect of the resin is pretty neat and adds a nice note paint touch to the parts. I have also started prototyping a bust for all of my painted action figure heads that I have lying around everywhere, so I like the version of the bust so far as a proof of concept, but I think it needs a bit more polish so that the busts are a little bit more appealing. I will be providing more updates on the bust soon. So that was a figure, guys. Let me know what you think about this action figure and how I can improve this. A lot of people have been asking me to do away with the drop down hinges in the thighs. So is that something that you would like to see me remove? Or is there anything else you would like to see me improve or remove? Just let me know down in the comment section below. Please check back in again for more 3D printable action figure content. I'm working on my next figure, so I'll do a video on that really soon. The figure is going to be a big one, so you will not want to miss this. If you want to see more of me and my 3D printed action figures, please subscribe to my channel because that helps a lot. And if you leave a like, that is always appreciated. I'm now going back into my cave to do more 3D sculpting, so I'll see you in the next video.